Hola chicos, I'm sorry I can't be with you guys today, but I did want to give you a little lesson for our basic introductions to Spanish. If you have not already, something that you're going to need to do is take a moment if you have a piece of lined paper. There is lined paper up front if you need it. And please make sure to watch this video the whole way through. I know it's tempting to want to skip ahead, but this information is information we're going to use in class throughout the week. Make sure you listen and take your own notes. Taking your own notes in my class is going to be an important skill to learn. It teaches you how to be organized and how to be responsible for your own learning. If you see anything that says toma apuntes, that means take notes. It'll be at the top of a slide, and that means that you need to get your paper out and ready. I'll be checking your notes whenever you guys get back to make sure that you have them done, and then we'll be using them in class throughout the week. Put it in a safe place. If you lose it, you're going to have to redo your notes, as I did not fill in notes for this. Okay? All right, chiquitos, vamos a empezar. We're going to get going. What we're going over today, objetivos. Las vocales y los sonidos are going to be vowels and sounds. Just a really quick, fast lesson about how things should sound in Spanish when you read them. We're going to talk a little bit about how do you answer como te llamas, or what is your name. And then finally, we're going to do a little bit with salutations, greetings, which would be los saludos. All very introductory stuff that we're going to use in class this week. Okay, so grab out a pencil. If you need a piece of paper up front, I've put them on the white table up front, along with any headphones that you might need. Okay. One thing that's important to know in my class is that you are going to have to ask me for things in Spanish, especially starting in about a few weeks. One of the most important things that you should take a moment to take notes on is the term ¿qué significa? ¿Qué significa means what does it mean? So if we're ever doing something in Spanish where you see a word that you don't know, you can ask me ¿qué significa? For example, if you're reading and it says hola, you say ¿qué significa hola? And I would tell you, hola significa hello in English. If you notice at the bottom, it says en inglés, en español. Make sure that you write both of those along with que significa, because sometimes you might need to ask me what something means in Spanish. Sometimes you might need to ask me what something means in English. Another thing that is important to know is como se dice. So instead of just asking me all the time, señorita, how do I say this? How do I say that? You're going to say señorita, como se dice, and then whatever you need to know. For example, if you needed to know how to say, I have 3 brothers, you could say, señorita, como se dice, I have 3 brothers en español. And I'll tell you, se dice, yo tengo 3 hermanos. And I'll tell you exactly how to say it. But I do want to hear you guys starting to use que significa for what does it mean, and como se dice. And again, if you need to pause at any point to take notes, please do. I'm going to go fast. That's what the pause button's for. One thing that I do want to real quick talk about in Spanish is that words in Spanish are said exactly how they look. But sometimes the vowel sounds in English change. In Spanish, they don't. Vowels will make the same noise every time. For example, the letter A in Spanish will always make the noise ah. So make sure, I want you to write the letter A, and then you're going to write how it's pronounced, ah. So it doesn't matter if it is the word gato for cat, or if it's the word auto or auto for car. A's are always going to be ahs in Spanish. They're never going to be an eh. For example, you wouldn't want to say ghetto. That sounds, first of all, very, very American. And our A is always going to make that nice ah, gato, if you're saying the word cat. E's in Spanish. E in Spanish always makes the noise eh. It will never make the noise E like it does in English. For example, the word education, educación. The word electric in Spanish, eléctrico. It's always going to make that eh noise. So A is a, and E becomes eh. I in Spanish is going to make that nice E noise that we want to hear. So I is always going to sound like E. For example, if I was going to say that somebody is intelligent, I would say inteligente. I is always going to sound like E. If I'm going to say America, America. So always I becomes E. O is a nice one because O in Spanish is just going to sound like O. O doesn't change much. You're just going to keep it nice and short. O. And then finally, U in Spanish. U in Spanish is never going to make that American Y noise. You in Spanish is always going to be pronounced u, instead of you. So we have a, e, I, o, u. And make sure to write that down in your notes. Okay, I'm going to skip the let's practice because we're going to do this in class, and I don't want to waste your guys' time just going over vowels. Just remembering that it's a, I, o, u. And we'll be doing some practice when we get back. One thing that you do need to know in Spanish is how to introduce yourself in any language. That's the first thing you usually learn. If you're going to say that your name is something, you start by saying me llamo. For example, I would say me llamo Señorita Maravik. My name is Miss Maravik. You never want to say mi llamo, first of all. The E in Spanish, remember, always makes that noise. So if you're going to say my name is, you say me llamo. So taking a few notes on this, if I said, what is your name? I would ask you by saying, ¿Cómo te llamas? You might add tú at the end, which means you. You don't have to. I would probably just say, ¿Cómo te llamas? You could say, ¿Cómo te llamas tú? As well. So, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? If you're going to answer, you're going to say, Me llamo. One thing you don't want to do in Spanish is say, Me llamo es. What you're saying is my name is, but you're actually saying I call myself is. So again, get in the habit. ¿Cómo te llamas? What's your name? Me llamo Señorita. Me llamo Sara. And again, stop when you need to. Take your notes here. We do need to learn about how to talk about other people as well. If you're going to talk about other people, we're going to usually use he and she. Okay? The way that you say she in Spanish is ella. Again, that double L makes the ya noise. So ella. You might hear people from South America say ella because they make their L's do a ya, okay? Or ella if they're from Uruguay or Uruguay. But we're going to say in our class ella, she. For he, we say él. So ella, she, él, he. And then it's good to know that there is a difference between accents. El with an accent is he. El without the accent is the. And make sure if it says toma apuntes, you're taking notes. A few other things. If we're going to talk about he and she, we're usually going to be talking about what their name is. So we said me llamo is my name is. If I'm going to say his name is, I'll say él se llama. Él se llama. If I want to say her name is, I would say ella se llama. So we're going to start with él se llama. Example, if I was asking, clase, ¿cómo se llama él? What is his name? We'll do a little practice here. That is a terrifying picture of SpongeBob. I thought it was funny, but now I think it's creepy. If I was looking at this picture, I would say, clase, ¿cómo se llama él? A way you could answer is, él se llama SpongeBob. You could also just say, se llama SpongeBob. Same thing. ¿Cómo se llama él? If you look over here, él se llama Tom Holland, or just se llama Tom Holland. Again, make sure to grab out your paper and your notes if you need to stop. Same thing, if you're going to talk about what someone else's name is, you say ella if it's a girl. So ella se llama, her name is. Ella se llama. Example would be, clase, ¿cómo se llama ella? Ella se llama Serena Williams. ¿Cómo se llama ella? Ella se llama Serena or Serena Williams. Clase, ¿cómo se llama ella? Ella se llama Dora or se llama Dora. Moving on, a few last things here. How do you say where are you from? Usually when you're talking to people and getting to know them, this is a common question. The way that you say this is by going de donde eres or de donde eres if you're good at pronouncing your R's in Spanish. Some of you might have trouble with that, and that's okay. De donde eres is where are you from? From where are you? De donde eres. An answer to that is very easy. You just say soy de, I am from, and then where are you from? I would say soy de Carlisle. Some of you might say soy de Mechanicsburg, soy de Harrisburg, and then where you are from. Making sure to say soy de and not soy de, because again, that E in Spanish always makes the E noise. So I am from soy de. Now, how do we greet each other in Spanish? ¿Cómo saludar? Very quickly here, we're going to go through what would be some greetings you would use at different times of the day. The most important one in the morning that you'll hear me say if you have me as a morning class is buenos dias. Buenos dias means good day or good morning. I expect you guys, as I start to get more into the Spanish habit of saying buenos dias, clase, to hear you say buenos dias back. Good morning. It's just common courtesy. So buenos dias, good morning. Buenas tardes is going to be good afternoon. So if you're in my period 6 class, you're going to period 8 class, you're going to hear me say buenas tardes, clase, and you're going to respond by saying buenas tardes, good afternoon. Finally, if you're saying good night to somebody or good evening, you would say buenas noches, buenas noches. Now we'll practice a little bit more about at what time you would use these greetings. Again, we'll do a little practice in class, so I'm going to skip through a bit just to give us a little bit of time to take notes. Here are your last notes. I know that this has been a long video. If we're going to talk about people, we can't just describe everybody as a boy and a girl. It depends on age in Spanish. For example, if we were looking at a little kid and he was a boy, we would say el bebé. So if we're talking about a baby, el bebé. Make sure that you write the English and the Spanish, el bebé. But if that child that we're talking about is a little bit older, I would say el niño, the boy. So el bebé, the baby, el niño, the boy. And then for people or kids that are a little bit older, for example, I would refer to the boys in my class as this. You can use the word el muchacho for a boy that's a little older, or el chico. So that's if you're not too young, you're not too old, right in between el muchacho or el chico. Also, if we're talking about an older man, we can use two things. We can call them el hombre, the man, or you can say el señor, which technically means Mr. or the Mr., but it also can mean the man. So el hombre, el señor, both of them mean the man. So el bebé, el niño, el muchacho o el chico, el hombre, el señor. Also, good to know, if you're going to describe someone, you can just use the word es. Es. So if I want to say, like, he is smart. Es inteligente. He is nice. Es simpático. Same thing with girls. We have different words for them. If it is a female baby that you're talking about, we're going to say la bebé. Instead of el bebé, la bebé is going to be a female baby. If it's a girl who's younger, we're going to refer to her as la niña. So a young girl would be la niña. If it is a woman or a girl that might be a little bit older, you can use the word la muchacha, which is the girl. You can also use the words la mujer, which is the woman, and la señora, which is the woman who is older. So la muchacha would be the girl, la mujer, the woman, la señora, the older woman. Okay. All right, guys, that is the end of my notes for today. I hope that you were able to go through and write your own. Make sure that they're nice and organized. Again, taking notes is a good skill to have. I know that it can be tedious and not fun to do, but you're going to thank yourself for it when you get into high school and have to do this a lot. Tarea, homework. You guys have a GimKit assignment on the basic conversation we just did. So everything we just did in your notes, you're going to want to use that on the GimKit that I've posted. It's due on the 7th of September, which is tomorrow night for you guys. The game mode is called Fishtopia, and I'm going to record a second video that I'll try to keep nice and short if you don't know how to play Fishtopia. The way that you access that homework for you guys is you're going to go to Schoology, under Materials, go down to Señorita Maravich Absence, okay? And then you want to go to GimKit Assignment Basic Introductions. When you click on it, it will get you started, and then you have to get $200 by the 7th of September, tomorrow night at midnight, to pass that homework assignment. I'll post a video in a moment underneath. If you go back to this folder, I haven't published it yet. I am doing so in a moment. For Señorita Maravich Absence, that will show you how to get money in Fishtopia so you don't have to spend 20 minutes doing an assignment that you can do in 10. Other than that, guys, please let me know if you have any questions. I will have my email open and I'll have my Schoology messages up. I know that 15 minutes is a long time for a video. I appreciate you guys taking the time you did. Tomorrow, please make sure that you have your notes filled out on your piece of lined paper that I can see. and that you have started the GimKit assignment. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hasta mañana. Adios.